BingX, a trusted global crypto exchange. Trade spot, futures, or copy top traders easily. Sign up via the link or referral code to get 30 USDT instantly, plus up to 1,500 USDT in bonuses for verification, deposit, and trading.
Canada's ruling Liberal Party is signaling a stark reality for citizens. A budget of sacrifice is now deemed essential to navigate the treacherous currents of an escalating trade dispute with the United States and a persistent cost of living crisis, both of which loom large as potential harbingers of recession. The nation stands at a critical juncture, with the government's fiscal plans facing an uncertain reception from opposition parties, casting a shadow of doubt over the stability of Prime Minister Mark Carney's minority government. The potential fallout from a failed parliamentary vote on this pivotal budget could very well usher in another federal election within a matter of weeks, a prospect that invariably injects a significant dose of apprehension into the political and economic landscape. On Tuesday, the country's finance minister, François-Philippe Champagne, is slated to unveil a comprehensive spending plan that the government has already indicated will be characterized by a delicate balancing act, encompassing both substantial deficits and necessary spending cuts, while specific details remain tightly guarded secrets ahead of the official announcement. This moment is poised to offer the first substantive glimpse into Prime Minister Carney's strategic approach to averting a recession, particularly in the context of an ongoing and increasingly acrimonious trade war with the United States, Canada's most crucial economic partner. The ripple effects of aggressive protectionist measures emanating from the White House in recent months have already inflicted considerable damage upon Canada's vital automotive, metals, and forestry sectors. In an effort to mitigate these damaging impacts, Ottawa has previously resorted to measures such as tax reductions and increased investments in defense and infrastructure, aiming to provide much-needed support to struggling industries. However, these interventions have, perhaps inevitably, contributed to a more challenging fiscal environment for the nation. The intricacies of Canadian federal budgeting introduce a unique political dynamic. Each budget functions as a confidence vote. This means that once presented to Parliament as legislation, a defeat on the floor would almost certainly precipitate the collapse of the Liberal government, which currently holds a minority position. Such a scenario would inevitably trigger a snap federal election, potentially marking the nation's second election in less than a year, a prospect that rarely fails to ignite public concern and political maneuvering. The Liberals currently command 169 seats in the House of Commons. To secure passage of the budget, they must garner the support of at least 3 additional lawmakers from other parties, or alternatively, persuade 6 sitting members of Parliament to abstain from voting, thereby lowering the threshold required for approval. However, any MP choosing to abstain from such a critical vote would face the unenjoyable task of explaining their absence to their constituents, especially when the nation's economic future hangs precariously in the balance. Skepticism from opposition parties regarding the forthcoming budget has been palpable. They have voiced a range of concerns, with some suggesting that the proposed spending goes too far, while others argue it falls demonstrably short of the investments deemed necessary to address the country's pressing economic challenges. Prime Minister Carney himself acknowledged the gravity of the situation in a recent address to students at the University of Ottawa, warning that economic transformation would not occur instantaneously. He emphasized that it will take sacrifice and time, while concurrently pledging his government's commitment to work relentlessly to cut waste, improve efficiency, and make thoughtful, transparent decisions. He articulated a clear vision, stating, "We won't play games. We won't waste time. We'll play to win, by betting on Canada and Canadians." This pronouncement did not go unnoticed by the opposition. Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre was quick to seize upon Carney's remarks, labeling the speech a sacrifice speech, and asserting that the Liberals were attempting to cajole Canadians into accepting a permanent reduction in our quality of life. In the weeks leading up to the budget's unveiling, the Liberals have actively accused opposition parties of making unrealistic demands for fiscal and policy concessions. They have also issued a firm warning that the party, despite its parliamentary minority, will not succumb to any ultimatums in exchange for crucial votes. The government House Leader, Stephen McKinnon, recently suggested that Poilievre might be orchestrating a strategy to force a Christmas election, possibly as a tactic to divert attention from internal party questions surrounding Poilievre's leadership future. Prime Minister Carney, a figure with extensive experience as a former central banker for both Canada and the United Kingdom, but a relative newcomer to the political arena, has engaged in a series of meetings with the leaders of the Conservative, Bloc Québécois, New Democratic, and Green parties. These discussions have been aimed at outlining his government's priorities in seeking to cultivate support for the upcoming budget. To date, none of the opposition leaders have publicly declared their backing for the Liberal Party's fiscal proposals. In a social media post released on Monday, Carney articulated his number one focus as placing Canadians back in control by diminishing the nation's economic reliance on the United States and doubling exports to other international markets. He acknowledged that achieving this ambitious goal will necessitate citizens making difficult and responsible choices. The critical budget will be formally introduced by Minister Champagne in the House of Commons shortly after 4 p.m. Eastern Time on Tuesday. A period of 4 days of debate is scheduled to follow the budget's announcement, culminating in a decisive vote anticipated for November 17, a date that now looms as a potential turning point for Canada's economic and political future.